Welcome back to He Said, She Said. It's a little bit of a tongue twister sometimes. You're listening to KHTS 1220 with Coach Ron Tunick, his beautiful wife Ellen, and Debbie here in the studio. Coach, what are we doing?
Well, I just want to give a plug to KHTS. It is a radio station. Look, I'm on a lot of radio stations all over the country. These guys, they have a great app, Debbie. Will you listen to the show next week on their app? Just download the app in the App Store.
I have it already on my phone.
Isn't it a great app?
Listen to it every week.
And they have text alerts when traffic goes bad or something happens. Anyway, they do a heck of a job.
They have dating alerts?
They should. You know what? That is a great idea. We just heard the commercial on biology.
Single man?
Yeah.
Single man.
If you're
single
single
woman?
out there, seriously, go on Facebook and contact the coach, and I'll hook you up with Debbie.
Hey.
Hey, so real quick, biology, Debbie, you got to go there. It's at the Newhall Ranch Road where the LA Fitness Center. You make your own pizzas. You make your own pizza.
Roll the dough?
No, you don't roll the dough.
No, they'll actually roll the dough for you.
No, you stand behind a counter. It's like Chipotle. Am I saying that right?
Chipotle.
That was better than last week, honey.
Yeah,
like Cold Stone.
Kind of like
Yes.
Where you pick your base and then...
There you
Bingo,
go, exactly. And they do all the different crusts. It's a really great place.
So this segment is pretty, I think it's one of the most interesting segments we've done on the show. It's going to be a little longer than our other segments, but it's an important segment to talk about. And we're going to be talking about fear. We all have fears. All of us have fears. And how we overcome our fears, how we handle our fears. You know, I have a saying when I talk to people, you know, life is not about having things. It's about handling things. And when you have fears, a lot of people, they can't handle anything, so they withdraw. And here's what happens, and let me start the conversation this way. When you suffer from fear, anxiety, and I have quite a few, a fear of snakes. I don't care about overcoming my fear of snakes, but I do care a lot about overcoming some of my other fears, which maybe we will not talk about.
We will.
But fears prevent you from taking risk in life. And if you can't take risk in life, it's very hard to have a winning life. It's very hard to succeed if you're unwilling to take risks. So where do you want to start, ladies?
Oh, wow.
Well, I think fears are all different. People have tangible fears like snakes. There's emotional fears. There's a lot of different type of fears. And women and men's fears are obviously very different. For myself, mine is judgment. You know, my husband would say, I don't care what someone thinks about me, you know.
That is very true.
As a woman, my fear is that people will judge me based off of things I say, what I look like, how I'm handling a situation. My husband would not, that is not a fear of his.
So true for men in general. I think that men generally are like, I don't care.
Doesn't
Let's
matter.
go. This is who I am. Accept me. I have a
love me or leave me.
I have a little bit of that in me. Where I'm just like, this is who I am.
Accept
what?
it.
You like it or you don't. It's okay. Move on if you don't.
My best friend's like that. She always says, I'm an open book.
Take it or leave it.
I can't do that. You know, when I first met her, I will tell you, we'd have conversations at night. I'd call her the next day and be like, was that wrong? Did I say something wrong?
You've come past that.
Yes, but huge fear of being judged.
Yeah. I think all of us learn our fears from our childhood. Responses from our parents, responses from our siblings. Were our parents risk takers? Did they judge? So we come to adulthood with preconceived fears based on our past.
Absolutely. What's one of your fears, Coach? Give us a fear besides snakes.
I'm just sitting here thinking about my new dating service. No, I'm serious. I think I'm going to start a dating service.
I'm in, Coach.
You're in? Okay, I got 2 clients. I have a lot of fears. Probably my biggest fear right now that I need to get over is the fear of flying. And, I used to fly every week all over the country, and then something happened at LAX. The show's not long enough to get into, but now I have all these imaginary fears about what happens when I go to the airport or when I, get on not so much on an airplane, but when I go to the airport. So I'm working through a lot of my fears this year. I've overcome quite a few of my fears this year, but I have 10,000 more to go.
Well, I have a similar fear. My first husband, he died in a motorcycle accident. And ever since then, it was 8 years ago, that if my kids are not home exactly when they say that they're going to be home, if my friends aren't at my house when they say they're going to be at my house, if I'm on a date and that date is late, I go to the dark side immediately. And I know it's not logical. I mean, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
It's just a couple minutes.
But I start hyperventilating. One time, both my boys, they were together, and I don't know what happened. Neither one of them texted me to tell me that they were going out after they went to church, and then they were going out with friends. And they, they're young kids. I mean, they're not young, but they're 22, 19, and they're out with their buddies. They're having fun, And I texted both of them like a crazy person. And finally, my older son called me. He's like, calm down. We are fine.
It's okay, Mom.
We are fine. We're hanging out at the mall. I have my brother with me. We are fine. But it overcomes me so if someone's late.
And that's
so you have the fear of loss. You have the fear of judgment. I have the fear of flying. Mrs. Tunick, your fear is?
I have none.
She's fearless.
I'm fearless.
The fearless Ellen Tunick.
No.
Spiders. I mean,
No.
Rats. Mice.
Yeah,
Little tiny
rats,
mice that are 1 inch long.
things that slither and lay doo-doo everywhere. I think fear actually has a contagious quality to it.
Yes.
That if you're hanging out with somebody and they are explaining how fearful they are about something, it's contagious. Somehow the words get into your head, and now all of a sudden you're afraid of that too. So I think when someone is speaking about a fear, you have to be real aware and very cognizant to step back
To own that fear. It's your fear, not someone else's.
Exactly. And you can make a choice to either pull that fear in or just listen to the other person. But my question, here's a good question. So are brave people simply regular people who are not afraid of being afraid?
That's a lot of words.
It is a lot of words. But did you get the question?
So are brave people simply regular people who are not afraid
Of
to
being
be
afraid. Because
Well, there are people that are fearless. There are people out there that are
I'm
extraordinary.
not talking about
Superheroes.
people that jump off of cliffs,
Jump out of airplanes.
jump out of
perfectly.
airplanes.
Hey, no judgment over here. Come on.
I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about you have to be brave to face your demons. You have to be brave so that you don't limit your life. The more things and situations that you are afraid of, the smaller your world becomes.
So true.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that it goes a lot to coaches flying. When you limit yourself, then you're not on that family vacation with us in Hawaii because that fear of that airport.
But I have the Discovery Channel.
I'll go to Hawaii with you guys. Okay. I'll take his place.
Aunt Debbie.
But it's true. I've seen in the last, 5 or 6 years that this fear of flying, that's why he wants the Winnebago, the fear of flying has limited his access to travel. And I love to travel. Traveled to Eastern Europe last year with my daughter. It was just the two of us flying to a place I'd never seen before.
I was actually fearful of that. You did invite me. I do have 3 kids at home and a husband at home. I was a little nervous.
I was nervous too. I'd never gone that far. I've traveled through Europe, but I've never gone that far by myself without somebody with me. And I was empowered. When I came back, I was absolutely empowered and said, wow, where's my next trip going to be?
Well, we're going to take a break. We need to come back and help our listeners understand that they can overcome their fears, that there
Absolutely.
are certain things that you can do. I had the fear of doing the dishes. Now, Justin, you're going to laugh. I know you were going to laugh when you say that.
I think my son has that too.
No, but I have overcome the fear, seriously, of doing the dishes. It's made, I think, a big help in our marriage. I think I get an extra point, right?
Yeah, you get an extra point.
1 point.
It's true. I mean, we've been married for over 20 some odd years and not a dish doer, but he also has to learn how to use a broom.
Well,
There's been no broom use in 26 years.
I told you I have 10,000 fears. So.
Okay, can we move that one up the ladder, please?
Yeah, I can do a broom. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back on this wonderful station here in Southern California, KHTS 1220 on the AM dial. You can download the app in the App Store. It's a great app. You can listen to all the shows on KHTS. We'll be right back on the show we call He Said, She Said.
Welcome back to KHTS 1220. You are listening to He Said, She Said. I do want to say, I think I might have seen Ellen over there checking maybe her little Facebook status.
Honey, I'm figuring out what my ending close is going to be.
So
it's all about the show.
Don't be looking at your social media right now.
It's all about the show.
Coach, bring it back. Let's talk about how we can face these fears. How do we conquer some of them?
Right. So we'll be talking about fear as the summer goes along because it's a huge subject. And I've been studying fear for the last year, studying it because I want to overcome my own fears and I want to understand what happens. So when fear comes in, just like your fear of loss and Robin's fear of judgment, anxiety, all kinds of physical, chemical things happen to our body.
Yes.
And we shut down from thinking properly, and you all know what happens. So how do you start to fix these things? Well, you have to want to fix it. You have to really want to. Your want to has to be bigger than your have to. So there are professional people in the community. Now, Ellen and I have been to professional community. Other people go see shrinks, and that's fine. I'm reading books because in books you get different opinions. I'm reading 4 or 5 books now on fear. So I'm reading a book from a psychologist. I'm reading a book from a psychiatrist. I'm reading a book from a very successful businessman. I'm reading an old book, Susan Jeffries, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So everybody has a point. Everybody makes a good point. And you have to start with wanting to explore yourself, wanting to get inside. You have a good reason. And you understand why you have this fear of loss, Debbie.
Right.
You lost your husband. Robin's fear of judgment's a little bit more complicated because if you saw Robin, she's absolutely gorgeous. She's not gorgeous.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Coach.
So my wife's gorgeous, and I have gorgeous daughters. But, somewhere along the
Lucky
line,
you.
Ellen and I screwed up as parents probably, or I screwed up as a dad, so I'll take blame there. But, you can fix your fears. It takes a while. So one of the most common things I use is a trigger. Now, very few people know what my trigger is, but I'll tell you right now. I brush my left shoulder like this. So when a cloud of fear or a cloud of doubt or anything comes in, think about fears as clouds. They're passing through. They're not real. Most fears are manufactured. They're just not real. But once in a while, that black cloud will grab a hold of it for some reason. And we'll hold on to that fear, sometimes for a day. People get panic attacks for no reason at all. It doesn't take much
Whoa.
Yeah.
Back up.
Yeah.
You say for no reason at all. There's always a reason. The reason may not have any validity to it, but it's their reason. You have to remember that people's perceptions are their own truths. And so when I know someone who does suffer from panic attacks, because her perceptions of what's going on in her life, I think they're skewed, but they're real to her. So
that's a good point. I misspoke. I should have said that there's some emotional or mental trigger. It doesn't take much. Should use another description besides trigger. Some impulse. How about that? Some mental or emotional.
It's a stimuli.
Right.
Something's going on that day. There's something that's happening.
It could be a word.
Exactly.
It could be a word.
Yes.
It could be a
Absolutely.
smell. It could be any one of the sensory items that somehow creates an internal stimuli. And remember, we learn to respond from the time that we are conceived. It's this reptilian response. And it literally,
fight or flight.
It takes a nanosecond
Right.
for the brain to send off that response. So, but let's go back. How do we help ourselves?
Okay, so if you want to help yourself, you have to start with some building blocks. You have to go one block at a time. And the first block is exploring yourself. Elle, you said it a few minutes ago on the show. I fought you for years on this, but I don't fight you anymore, that everything is stored in the subconscious mind. Everything that's happened to you in your life is in your subconscious mind. And those things will bounce back for certain reasons at certain times. So you have to get in touch with who you are. You have to start exploring who you are, what makes you up, what makes you sad, what makes you happy, what frustrates you. There's a lot of things that go into creating these fears. And if you understand, like I used to have the fear of open spaces. My mother would drop me off on corners and say, I'll be back in a few minutes and pick you up. She never came back. And you wonder why I had a fear of abandonment and a fear of open spaces.
That's also why you have to park so close to the radio station. You'll drive round and round the
That's
block.
because I'm lazy.
That's your open space, a fear of your car being too far away from you.
So I think what we
That's a
do
good
is
point.
we all suffer from the intellectual side of us with our fears, saying, I see it, I hear it, I can move through this. And then the physical, emotional side says, hell no, I'm not doing that.
That's right. So start with buying a book today. One book. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's a great book to start. It's one of the millions and millions of books have been sold, and it helps people. So you want to end the show today with something special. We'll see you next week. Oh, we'll be on Saturday at 11 o'clock on KHTS. 11 a.m. this Saturday. Go ahead, Elle.
Are they repeating this show?
I don't know.
Oh,
It'll be a
okay.
surprise.
Always love to end the show with, a little quote. So today's show is going to end with, challenges are what make life interesting. Overcoming them, however, is what makes life meaningful. So we want you to have an amazing day, face your fears, and tell us all about it. Leave an email. Send us your notes.
How about Facebook,
Facebook
Coach?
Pa.
Yeah, how about Facebook?
Facebook Pa.
Yeah, Coach Ron Tunick. Please Facebook me. I need more friends, please.
Don't Facebook Ellen.
Yeah, don't Facebook Ellen.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks, everyone.